This is 722. We're going to be finding the horizontal and slant/oblique asymptotes of a rational function. So we're going to find the horizontal asymptotes and we're going to find the oblique asymptotes. So in the previous lesson, we said that the graph appears to level off to the left and the right. Kind of like there's this imaginary line that goes across here, and the question is, how do we find that line? Well, that leveling off is our horizontal asymptote. And so we're going to go through and find it. And so to be able to find it, we go through 3 scenarios. And to go through these scenarios, we compare the degree of our polynomial on the top and our polynomial on the bottom. So I'm going to say n is the degree of the numerator, the polynomial on top, and then m is the degree of the denominator, which is going to be the polynomial on the bottom. So these are the 3 scenarios. The first is the degree is larger on the bottom. If it's larger on the bottom, your horizontal asymptote is automatically y equals 0. If the degrees are the same, the horizontal asymptote is the ratio of the leading coefficients. So if you just take the leading terms and divide it, that's going to be your horizontal asymptote, y equals that number. And then if the degree on top is larger, there is no horizontal asymptote. It's an oblique or a slant asymptote, and you have to divide the polynomials to find it. So let's look at this first example. Compare the degrees. There's a 2 on top, there's a 3 on the bottom. So since the 3 is bigger on the bottom, the degree is larger on the bottom, it's automatically y equals 0. Let's look at the next case. So the degree is 3 on top and 2 on the bottom. So it's actually larger on top than it is on the bottom. So therefore, it's going to be an oblique or a slant asymptote. And then the third case, if you look at the degrees, they are the same. So because they are the same, you're going to take the leading terms. If you divide them, whatever is left, that's going to be your horizontal asymptote. Now, we didn't talk too much about the slant asymptote. And so when that case occurs, all you have to do is just divide the polynomials. The equation that you get, excluding the remainder, is going to be the equation that represents your asymptote. So in this instance, the degree on top is larger than the bottom, so I need to divide it. We're going to use the polynomial long division to do it. Remember, can't forget the placeholder. And so divide, distribute, subtract, bring everything down, divide, distribute. Now, just to let you know, you can already be done here, subtract, because anything else that I get from here, I'm going to get a remainder, and you ignore the remainder. So this right here, that represents my slant asymptote. So what did we learn today? We learned how to find the horizontal or the slant asymptotes. So what are the 3 scenarios? The first is the degree is bigger on top. That's going to give you the slant asymptote or the oblique asymptote. And the way you find it is by dividing the polynomials. Then the degree on the top is equivalent to the degree on the bottom. What you're going to do is you're going to divide the leading terms. And whatever you get left over, y equals that number. And then the last is going to be the degree on the bottom is bigger. That's going to be y equals 0. This does conclude our lesson. If you have any other questions, please leave them in the comments.